Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hunter Houck, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my pet-related unpopular opinions. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is my leopard gecko Peyton. Before we get started, I just wanted to say these are all, just like the title says, my opinions, and if you have a differing opinion, please leave it down in the comments. We can have a respectful discussion and conversation between everyone and kind of see what other people think, what their opinions are, and why they think that. So I think that'll be a fun way that we can facilitate some respectful discussion. If you see me looking down like I'm doing right now, it's because I have notes behind the camera. That way I can kind of make sure I'm going in order of what I want to be doing. This first one is probably going to ruffle some feathers, and that's spider ball pythons. I personally think that they shouldn't be bred. For those of you who don't know what a spider ball python is, they are a morph of ball python that have a pattern that some people think is pretty. I personally think it's quite ugly. But they also have a neurological disorder that causes them to have impaired motor skills and bad depth perception. So when they strike, they often miss their food, and sometimes they bite themselves, and also they stargaze, which I'll put a picture of, a video of them on the screen right now, demonstrating their problems. But yeah, they have a lower quality of life, and I think that when we can prevent that and cause an animal to have a higher quality of life, we should. So spider ball pythons really shouldn't be bred. Some people say that it can be bred out, but it really can't. It's on the same place in the chromosome. So basically the neurological disorder and the pattern are a linked gene. So that means that all spiders have some degree of neurological disorder that impairs their quality of life. Number 2, outdoor cats are bad. This one is kind of a consensus at this point, but I'm just gonna tell you why. I'm going to be looking back there because I have to quote a scientific journal article. According to the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, in the U.S. cats kill 2.4 billion birds and 12.3 billion mammals every year. So that just shows outdoor cats have a huge negative impact on the ecosystem. I personally believe that you shouldn't have an animal if you can't care for it properly, and not only is it dangerous to have cats outside, it's dangerous for the ecosystem because they do kill so many animals. If your cat absolutely cannot stay inside, like if they're gonna be peeing everywhere and stuff, and you've tried everything, then there are outdoor runs and stuff that you can get, or you can cover your backyard with like a mesh or something. That way they can still have outdoor time if you want them to, but they can't actually go and escape and kill small prey items that are important to the ecosystem. But in my opinion, they should never be free-range outdoors. I know this one is pretty touchy and a lot of people disagree. So again, if you have reasons why they should, for example, maybe be outdoors, be sure to comment those down below, because I do want to hear everyone's opinions. This next one is about critiquing people's pet care. On Instagram you'll see lots of accounts with overweight pets and stuff, and I feel like it really doesn't do anything when 30 people comment, hey, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, on a smaller account. Maybe send them a DM respectfully and nicely and be like, hey, here's what's wrong and here's how you can easily fix this. Don't just say this is bad, say here's why this is bad, and say how they can help fix that. And if 30 people comment that, then they're gonna get annoyed by it. But if a couple people respectfully send them a message, that's gonna do a lot more, and they're gonna be more willing to try to make the proper change. Now if it's an account I can't remember what the account is called, but basically they have 30,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram, and they post videos of them peeling their gecko's skin. What else do? They spray baby geckos with water bottles because it makes them yawn, which is really them trying to hiss because it makes them uncomfortable. So if a lot of people speak out, then maybe they can lose some followers, so then they won't be being encouraged to do that kind of thing to their geckos. But if it's an account with 100 followers, 30 people are just going to make them delete their account and they're not going to actually learn anything from it. They're going to be stuck in their ways and not actually make a positive change. I know a lot of people feed crickets to their animals, but in my opinion, crickets are the worst feeder insect. Crickets, in my opinion, are just kind of really gross. They smell bad and they're loud and just obnoxious all around. Dubias are, like dubia roaches, dubia galactica, are nutritionally superior and they have lower chitin and they don't smell bad. And they are usually cheaper. So they're easier to digest, like dubia roaches are easier to digest than crickets. And they provide more nutrition, so I think people who feed crickets should switch over to dubia roaches, unless it's illegal where you live, because I know dubias are illegal in like Florida and Canada. This one is probably going to be the longest one. Hybrid reptiles. There are two main types of hybrid animals. There's allopatric and sympatric. Allopatric hybrids are hybrids between two species that live in different geographical areas. So say you took a gecko that lived in Africa and bred it with a gecko that lives in Asia. Those would be allopatric hybrids because those geckos are separated by allopatric speciation, meaning they live in different parts of the world. Now say you bred a Chihuahua gecko and a crested gecko. Those are sympatric hybrids because they both live in very similar parts of the world. Like, geographically speaking, they're very close together. So in the wild, they'd be living in kind of the same conditions when it comes to heat and humidity. I almost always disagree with the breeding of allopatric hybrids. Say a ball python and a python, I can't remember what it's called, crap. But it's another python that has completely different care needs. A lot of times people breed them because they look cool, but I disagree with it because it's hard to know how to care for that particular animal because each of them come out so differently. Now, I don't usually have a problem with sympatric hybrids. If they have similar care requirements, such as a rat snake and a corn snake, or a king snake and a rat snake, anything like that, they have very similar care requirements, so you're basically going to know how to care for them because you'll care for them exactly like their parents. And as long as it does not present a health issue, then I really don't see a problem, but as soon as there's any health issue caused by it, or if they have different care requirements, or different sizes even, if it's dangerous for the parents to lock, I think that it's irresponsible and shouldn't happen. Okay, the camera, my B camera, stopped recording, so now I'm going to redo the one that I just talked about. Scaleless snakes. I personally wouldn't own a scaleless snake just because they require a lot more care. They're more susceptible to being scratched and burned, and a lot of times they have shedding issues, so you just have to be a lot more careful with them and their environments and terrariums. And yeah, but also a lot of them in captivity are kind of inbred because people breed for more and more percentage of skin without scales, so they don't always live as long because there's less genetic diversity. And a lot of times it's just clouding the gene pool. Like with corn snakes, for example, all scaleless corn snakes have a small percentage of rat snake in them, and people don't always, aren't completely transparent with that when they sell you a scaleless corn snake. They'll be like, oh no, it's a corn snake, but they all have, I think it's at least 25% rat snake. I can't remember. Now it's probably less, but when I was reading an article that was written about 5 years ago, they all had at least 25% rat snake in them, so now it's more probably like 15 or 10%, but still, when people don't know exactly what they're buying, that can be kind of harmful. There are a lot of people in the reptile hobby who think, okay, you have to have a bioactive enclosure or you're a bad owner, and I'm not one of those people. I think that bioactive isn't always the best. Sometimes it's more difficult for first-time reptile owners and stuff, and just more difficult in general. So I feel like if you're saying no, bioactive is the only way, that you are wrong. naturalistic can be great for animals as well instead of just bioactive. So you can try to mimic their natural habitat without having a micro ecosystem in there. You don't have to have a cleanup crew to keep your animal's enclosure clean if you stay on top of it. Some animals like leopard geckos and bearded dragons, for example, they don't even need a naturalistic enclosure. You can have it pretty simple as long as there's enough enrichment and hides and stuff and fake plants. You don't really need it to be completely naturalistic. As long as you have enough enrichment, in my opinion, bioactive isn't the only way to go. This one is going to apply to a lot of people's dogs. I believe that brachycephalic dogs should not be bred at all. I'm going to quote another article that was written by a veterinarian. According to Pet Care RX, all brachycephalic dogs suffer from some form of mild brachycephalic airway syndrome and are also vulnerable to more dangerous conditions that may require surgery. So basically, for those of you who don't know, brachycephaly is a trait that a lot of the smaller dog breeds and some of the larger dog breeds have, where their face is like kind of smushed up and their nose is also smushed, so they have smaller nostrils and they really can't breathe as well, so then they can't exercise properly. Like some examples are pugs, shih tzus, chihuahuas, boxers, and bull mastiffs. In my opinion, they just have way too many health problems, and an animal that's most likely going to require surgery at some point in its life just so that it can breed, I don't think it's really worth it to breed them. Now, if you're going to adopt one, that's perfectly fine because a lot of them need homes, but I just wouldn't support a breeder who's going to be breeding brachycephalic dogs. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's all 9 of the unpopular opinions I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram if you want to see more of my animals, because I do post them on there almost every single day. Also, if you guys like baby chicks, I'm going to be hatching some out soon. You saw me put them in the incubator in a few videos back, but in a few weeks they're actually going to be hatching. So that's really exciting, so be sure to subscribe so that you can see that, because they will be adorable. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, and if you want to tell me what your favorite or least favorite thing I talked about in this video was, be sure to comment that down below, and if there's something you disagreed with, be sure to tell me too so we can have a respectful discussion about that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.